Hello, welcome everybody to another episode of Arthur's Roundtable. Super appreciate you being here with us today and paying attention as we release these episodes. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing it as you have. We have Jim Poole with us today with a company called NuCalm. Some of you are using it and know about it. If not, you'll welcome today's chat with Jim. We got here in a really interesting route. Longtime old friends from meeting at the Core Club in New York City who were doing some aviation stuff. And so, as often happens, we couldn't predict the connectivity, and that's how we met NuCalm. And I don't mind also sharing with you that we realized after chatting for a little while, NuCalm is using a company that I have a economic interest in, full disclosure, called Tonewell in part of their app. And so we're super pleased to hear that too. So thanks, Jim, for being here.
So Arthur, thanks for having me. And yes, we're related beyond what we thought we were related to. So that's always fun. And that was a really nice kind of experience for us as well, because we've been working with Matthew Sanderson, the physicist behind the Tonewell tech, for 10 years.
Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating. Well, I've got a great story to share with you today, and I'm not going to get too into the science, but there'll be some science involved just so that when we understand how the brain works, then you can understand how this technology works. But for 17 years, I've been on an incredible mission, purpose-driven. I didn't know 17 years ago the challenges afforded a pioneer. How would you know? How many pioneers come in and exponentially change the trajectory of humankind? Maybe 10 in a generation. So no one told me how or why pioneering is difficult. But let me tell you why. The human brain demands a comparison. So if I tell you something that you've never heard of before, you inherently have skepticism because you've never heard of it before. But when your brain goes to place a comparison to it and there's nothing there, your brain shuts down. One of the challenges with pioneering something so advanced that no one's really ever heard of is that there's no representation and understanding. And now I was made humble about 12 years ago by a group of monks who shared this with me. They said, your biggest challenge, Mr. Poole, is there is no vernacular to describe what you do. And even then, I didn't fully understand the challenges. So I've been pioneering this technology for 17 years. What is it? How did I get here? There's a gentleman by the name of Dr. Blake Holloway. He was a brilliant, brilliant man. In fact, I could say with full transparency, by far the smartest man I'd ever met. Now, both my parents are Mensa, and I'm surrounded by smart people. I went to universities in Boston and all these good accolades, but I never met someone like Blake. Neuroscientist, quantum physicist, Rhodes Scholar at Oxford, studied philosophy at the Sorbonne University in Paris. He was a freak. He was a gifted intellectual freak amongst freaks. He found me in early 2009. And at that point, I had just finished the largest private equity acquisition in the history of the dental industry for Credit Suisse DLJ Merchant Banking. In fact, it was the last acquisition of that enterprise. And it was roughly about a $300 million acquisition of a company in California. And his name was Dr. Bob Ibsen, 34-year company, dental company. If for those of you who remember the term Lumineers or Rembrandt toothpaste.
Yeah, of course.
That's the man. Well, I was the leader of the entire acquisition, from the due diligence strategy, the roadshow, post-acquisition, running that company. And serendipitously, back in Texas, Dr. Holloway, who spent 19 years inventing a technology that could quickly, safely, and predictably relax the mind and body within minutes with no side effects. I'm going to say that again because I've never heard this before. A technology that can safely, quickly, and predictably relax the mind and body within minutes with no side effects. He was entertaining and testing this out clinically in a dental practice in San Antonio. Now, why would you bring a neuroscientist into a dental practice? Well, he was trying to figure out, Arthur, I know my tech can work on long-term chronic stress, but can it address acute stress? And if you want to find a nice environment for acute stress, ask an adult to lay down on their back, open their mouth, and have a stranger put instruments in your mouth.
Anybody, nobody, to a person, it's not like, okay, I'm looking forward to going to the dentist. Like it causes anxiety immediately, right?
As it should.
Yeah.
This is our survival instinct. It's our communication instinct. If your mouth is attacked or whatever in the wild as a mammal, you're dead. This is we protect. So he started doing work with high fear dentists and oral maxillofacial surgeons and periodontal surgeons in Texas. And they thought it was voodoo and magic and a miracle. They were like, we don't know what's going on here, but we don't have to medicate any of these people. And we're doing incredible work and they're getting up and they're leaving. And all they have on is a headphone or an eye mask and they're listening to something. So Dr. Ed Staffel went to Dr. Holloway and said, Blake, you got to bring this to the world. I don't know how it works, but I see it clinically every day. And this is a life-changing experience. You got to do it. But you can't do it, Blake, because you're a neuroscientist, quantum physicist, but you have Asperger's. You're not bringing anything to the world. You're just inventing stuff. He said, what you want to do is you want to find the company that made Bob Ibsen rich. So Blake somehow found our consulting firm in Delaware from Texas when I was running the company in California. So
There you have it.
it makes no sense.
Yeah, right.
So he reaches out to me and he disarms me immediately because he has an incredible Texas Southern drawl. So being from the East Coast, I'm usually, not too open to whatever. But I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
forget about it.
I
Yeah.
like this tone.
Yeah.
He spoke in a tongue that I was not familiar with. I mean, just really cool 50-cent words and teach me about the brain. So whatever reason, Arthur, and it doesn't make sense to me now, I kind of took a liking to him. And I was curious, who wouldn't like to learn about your brain? Our firm did 10 weeks of weekly calls with him to try to figure out, can we help? Now, historically, our firm never worked with inventors. There's something I call inventoritis. You can't extract the ego and the attachment from that person. You can't do what you need to do without that oversight, and it's just not going to work. I don't need to suffer that. Blake was the inventor, but Blake he didn't have inventoritis. He had a humility about him. He had a compassion about him. He just wanted to serve. So NuCalm began its journey 1990. Blake Holloway had a clinical practice in Texas, serving complex trauma, and addiction. For any of you who know the DSM-5 and the anxiety disorders and the personality disorders, this is the toughest profile of life to live with. Your brain physiology has changed. You've lost control and you're in a constant state of high frequency hypervigilance. You live in chaos all the time. There is no peace. Conventional therapy would dictate that you hold your hand out and we give you a narcotic-based pharmaceutical.
Yeah,
But
totally.
it's not solving the problem. It's just putting a
Mask.
Band-Aid. It's just masking it. And he said, Jim, I refuse to do that. So he spent 19 years of his life figuring this out. What did he figure out? He built a software. The software is really complex. So if you're an engineer, a mathematician, physicist, you'll like the complexity of the software. There's a pitch and frequency mathematical matrix. There's isochronic waveform. There's binaural signal processing. There's nonlinear oscillating algorithms. I mean, this stuff is amazingly complex, and it's the only patented software in the world clinically proven to change the state of a human brain. That's a pretty good patent.
It's impressive.
That's in 2021. So he built the software designed to present your brain with precise signals that your brain synchronizes to. So we use your ears to present your brain with signals that your brain synchronizes to. We put music on top of the physics. We do this because we want to create a nice experience for you. Why not? But the music is not doing the work. The physics and the math underneath the music that's inaudible to the human ear.
I was
You
going to
can hear
ask you if absent the music, would it be detectable?
absent the music, it sounds like this. It's actually rather abhorrent and
Yeah.
agitating.
You got it.
In Ignite, Arthur, you can hear the low end tone. We kept it in there because we've worked with 79 professional sports teams and elite military warfighters, and we didn't want them to think it was just music. So we literally kept it in there as a reminder. This isn't music. We're changing your state. So
Is that also in the master class sleep rate? Because I hear like a vacillating hum.
that is 132 hertz, which is the frequency of the vagus nerve. So we're doing that on purpose to activate your vagus nerve while we just create a nice, comfortable experience. The physics itself is inaudible. Now, if you have pets, dogs and cats have 6 to 8 times the sensitive hearing that humans have. They can hear it, but we can't hear it. Okay. So you just hear the 132 hertz. So Blake created this software, put music on it with a headphone and an eye mask. We can, with great precision, take your brain wave and slow it down to 4 hertz. Now, most people don't know how their brain works, and they certainly don't understand brainwave frequency. It's not as difficult, but no one's ever shared it with you. There's 5 categories of brainwave frequency. Delta, theta, and alpha are slow, high amplitude waveforms in sleep. Beta and gamma are fast. Delta is zero point 0.5 hertz to 4 hertz. This is dreamless like deep sleep. Theta is the healing zone, 4 hertz to 7 hertz. Now, why is it the healing zone? Because in this state, and only in this state, your cells clean their toxins and your mitochondria is restored. This is why humans must sleep to stay alive. So the more time you spend in theta, the healthier you are.
It's like
The
the
more time,
repair garage, right?
it's exactly what it is. So the more time you spend here, the more resilience you have. The more time you spend here, the more longevity you have. This balances your nervous system. Alpha is 8 hertz to 12 hertz. So for those of you who are into transcendental meditation or breath work, you're slowing down your brain wave to alpha. Beta is the fastest. 15 to 20 hertz is the learning zone. Specifically, 18.4 hertz is where you comprehend, concentrate, have mental clarity, and consolidate new information to memory. No one tells us that.
Yeah.
But there's a frequency associated with learning. And when your frequency isn't in that space, you're not learning. Think back in your life, Arthur, how many times you read something, got up to use the bathroom, came back, and couldn't find where you were reading because you weren't getting it.
Or had to read it again because you really didn't read it. You just looked at it, right?
Yes. So 20 to 25 hertz is where people spend most of their day. Fast frequency, they're distracted, they're anxious, they're worrying. 25 to 30 is faster. So that's kind of the makeup of how we work. And here's what's fascinating about this. Human psychology and understanding humans, there's a lot of gray areas. There's a lot of place for interpretation. But math and science, there really isn't. What I like about this is the specificity. When your brain's at 1 hertz, we know what you're doing. You're in dreamless like deep sleep. When your brain's at 4 hertz, we know what you're doing. You're in a lucid dream state and you're healing. When your brain's at 10 hertz, you're in alpha. When it's at 15 hertz, you're in learning. When it's at 20 hertz, you're stressed. What Blake figured out is if I can modulate your brain and hold you at 4 hertz, your body knows how to heal. Who would even think
Yeah.
that's even possible?
Yeah. Why didn't anybody tell me this, right?
Yeah. So that is what we figured out and invented. Now imagine me getting involved in 2009, and this is the landscape of what I'm looking at. It was like an Indiana Jones archaeological dig. There was a lot of trying to figure this out. There was a lot of skepticism. He was speaking in a tongue I wasn't familiar with, and I have a background in neuropsychopathology. I was like, I still don't really understand what's happening here. But I tried it in a doctor's office in San Antonio, and invariably something happened. So the skepticism was starting to melt away. I was like, I don't know what you just did to me, but I feel amazing. And I just experienced 30 minutes where I had an itch on my nose like 6 times. And at one point, I was like, you got an itch on your nose. Who cares? And then
Yeah.
another point, you got an itch on your nose. I was like, I don't even know where my arms are. So we began this journey together. In October of 2009, we spent 12 hours in a boardroom and he walked through the science. And fortunately for humanity, it made sense. Okay, big, grandiose idea, great science. Let's see what we can do. He said, Jim, can I do a few things to your eyes? I said, sure. And he did a few things. And he looked at me and says, you have TBI. Now, denial is my favorite form of medicine, Arthur. So it triggered in me something. And I looked at him and said, who the F are you? And he said, seriously, when you turn 50, you're not going to be able to tie your shoes. And I stopped and he said, what happened? I said, well, I wrestled for 20 years. I did martial arts for 20 years. I played football through high school. I said, I was hospitalized with 14 concussions, but I've been rendered unconscious at least 20 times when I didn't go to the hospital. He said, yeah, your brain is broken. I said,
Wow.
okay. So the next day, he's dropping me off at the airport and flying home to Delaware. And he gets out of the car and he's uncomfortable because he's got Asperger's. So it's a strange social experience. But he looks at me and says, Jim, I'm going to make a gentleman's agreement with you. I'm going to keep you healthy if you make me wealthy.
Yeah.
We shook hands and I said, okay, that was the beginning of our journey. 2009, October, we started evaluating the landscape of the science. We hire intellectual property attorneys, evaluate the landscape here, figure this out. We start going out to doctors. And I start building a medical advisory board of 52 of the best doctors in the world. These aren't interns checking my blood pressure or my prostate. These are statistical biophysicists at Harvard Medical School, NASA mathematicians, the medical director of the NFL, the who's who. Why? When you're pioneering something that's never existed before, there is no benchmark frame of reference research. We had to do everything new. So I went to Harvard Medical School and said, Dr. Pang, our scientist is smarter than you. And he looks at me and I said, well, this is what he invented. And he says, well, what is it? And I said, I don't really know. So help me corroborate it or destroy it. But
Yeah.
I'm not buying your voice. I'm giving you nothing for free. I'm not paying you and I'm not imposing my will on your research design. You're the expert. Figure it out. And that's what we did for 52 doctors. And for the next, from 2009 to 2015, we did clinical research on this technology to figure it out.
And
Now,
what
here's
was
what
the
we,
compelling reason why they agreed to do that? Weren't paying them. Was it just intellectual curiosity?
it's absolutely intellectual curiosity. And I think part of it also, Arthur, is the competitive spirit of you got this braggadocious CEO telling
Yeah, you're
me
not so smart.
that this dude in the corner
Yeah.
smarter than me.
Yeah. You
Now,
can't have a conversation with you, but he's smarter than you.
interestingly enough, I love Blake. He passed on December 20th, 2020. I miss him every day. But interestingly enough, I witnessed him in the presence of three of the geniuses in their craft. Dr. Chung Kang Pang is the world's leading mathematician. He has over 65,000 medical citations. He's the godfather of HRV. He built every mathematical model that any HRV system uses. When Blake met him in person at Harvard Medical School, literally within 5 minutes, CK was deferent to Blake in statistical biophysics. And I witnessed this and I was like, none of this is normal. We're with Stephen Bailey, one of the world's leading cardiovascular surgeons in San Antonio, Texas. Same thing happened. Within 5 minutes, he's deferent to Blake in cardiovascular. That's the level of genius we had. But when you're dealing with something so profound that no one really understands, their curiosity, they want to solve it. They want to figure this out. So it was a lot easier than you suspect and a lot more fun because we all were kind of going on a journey of
Yeah.
curiosity together. Now, Blake, for all his infinite genius, had Asperger's, so there was no operational efficiency. There was no deadline and understanding. Things would just plop. And then we'd say, okay, what is this? How does it work? So here we are, 2009. We're a neuroscience company. I, as a CEO, am forced to go play the game of neuroscience. I take it through the FDA, that's a medical device. I take it through Health Canada, which is more stringent than the FDA. I take it through military, 13-month esoteric military approval process. We engage in the research for patents. So we're doing all the hardcore science stuff. We study stage 4 cancer patients under the guidance of Dr. Janet Ranicky, MD, PhD, in the Chicago Blackhawks for 5 years. We show irrefutable quantified evidence that our ability to downregulate your stress and raise your parasympathetic nervous system happens to both populations within 5 minutes. So we show what we can do is we can balance the human nervous system of any human being. And in July of 2015, our company is awarded the world's first and only patent for balancing the nervous system of a human being. I mean, it's so profound. You know, Arthur, I'm sure you've been around IP and I'm sure you've been around the space. Most companies fight. I call it pole vaulting over a mouse turd. You're fighting for a microcosm of a patent space. We said, we're going to go get a patent for balancing the health of the human nervous system. And we got it. And that
So
one, yeah.
I have a question. Aside from the patent attorneys, which arguably had to understand this to some extent so they could file it on your behalf, how is it possible that the patent office had the skill to evaluate this and grant the patent, being how big it was and meaning?
Well, first and foremost, you have to pick a lane to how you're going to quantifiably show that you're balancing the nervous system. And at that point, galvanic skin response was the kind of gold standard for understanding the nervous system, but it was weak. Galvanic skin response is electrophoresis on your skin. It's a lie detector, but it can be tricked, certainly by a sociopath. Dr. Pang, and it's almost like synchronicity, but maybe it was by design. One of the cool things of getting the best statistical biophysicist in the world is, guess what? He's coming with such credibility that
Yeah.
as a patent attorney evaluating this,
Good start. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And we were so methodical and so pristine. We didn't pay CK Pang. There was no honor in him trying to fudge the data. We just said, here's the data. And people don't know what they don't know. I'm one of the world's leading experts in HRV because I had to become one of those world leading experts in HRV. I've done probably 200 lectures just on significant HRV. It's not a ring on your finger or a watch. You literally had to take off your shirt, apply a single lead ECG device to your chest 5 minutes before NuCalm. Then you put an eye mask on and a headphone, you lay down, you enjoy the experience, and then 5 minutes after. We took the data out of that device, millions of data points. We sent them to Harvard Medical School, and they pushed them through the Hilbert-Huang transform algorithm developed by Norden Huang at NASA, and came back with a report that said specifically, this person started at this stress response, within 5 minutes went down to almost nothing, and raised the healing response of the parasympathetic nervous system. And it was all randomized. You didn't know they had stage 4 cancer, and you didn't know it might have been Jonathan Aduye of the Chicago Blackhawks. So it was incredible. Prior art wasn't that difficult. Medicine, Western medicine, is not innovation. Western medicine creates mediocre incremental improvements upon mediocre products. There's no next level exponential innovation. Science innovates, but medicine doesn't. In Western medicine, it's all built around symptom management, no root cause analysis,
Yeah.
and pharmaceutically driven. So it's an economic chain of marketing for 100 years.
Yeah.
You're never going to see that there. So when we did prior art, there was really almost nothing to evaluate. Meditation, yoga, Tai Chi, and breath work are all amazing practices, but there's no science, precision, and predictability. So just that process alone, Arthur, anybody watching this will know, wow, you guys have done something that never been done before. That's right. And we have 29 claims on the first patent. And then in 2021, we took our neuroacoustic software and we were awarded a second patent for a method used to elicit a state change in a human brain. So we figured it out, and then we prove it, and then we do the clinical studies. From 2009 to 2021, we are a $6,000 FDA Class 3 medical device. We're really a neuroscience company. We're like Willy Wonka's neuroscience company. We have no sales force. We have no marketing. All of our money is spent in inventing and then clinically proven and trying. We started surgically in November 5th, 2009. Literally, we started in Chicago, Illinois for an operation. Instead of prepping the patient with benzodiazepine and anesthesia, we put NuCalm on them. 4 minutes later, we wheeled them in and they were operated on.
This is wild.
That's the power of NuCalm. That's how we started. So I personally, Arthur, have witnessed more than 500 surgeries, the gore, the blood, the drills, the scalpels, the torque, the physics. I'm just like, how the hell are we doing this? That's the power of 4 hertz. We've interviewed thousands of patients before. When you interview a patient before surgery, they're out of their marbles. Their eyes are going. They're not even speaking English. It's like gibberish. Their lips are dry, and you just want to give them a hug. You're like, listen, you're going to be okay. 4 minutes of NuCalm, we wheel them in. The surgeon is doing great work. They're not compromised with a general anesthesia. They're available. And then after the surgery, the patient looks in the camera and says, I knew you were operating on me. I couldn't find a place to care. That's the power of 4 hertz. So if you're curious the power of what we can do, we've done 2,700,000 surgeries. 2,700,000 surgeries with no general anesthesia. Tomorrow morning, I'm doing a keynote lecture live in Kiev, Ukraine, remotely from me, with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Defense because we've been serving the Ukrainian population since 2022. We have 7 frontline hospitals doing surgeries without general anesthesia. We're keeping the special forces operators alive and awake and expediting their recovery on the front lines because they're losing their minds with energy drinks and no sleep. So that's the power of what we created. But at that point, Arthur, because we're still trying to figure out the science, we're still trying to innovate and do all the work, we're not focused on commercialization. But people are having operations. So in 2011, the head trainer of the Chicago Blackhawks sees a periodontal surgeon, has surgery done, calls him up the next day and says, "Doc, what'd you do to me? What was that headphone thing?" And the doctor called our company and said, "Hey, the Chicago Blackhawks are interested in learning more about this. Are you interested?" That's how we got into sports.
Mm,
Same thing with pilots. Same thing with Department of Defense. So along the road, as we're working on figuring out the science, we start serving certain audiences and we start serving them well. Department of Defense, Special Forces operators, Department of Defense, Navy SEALs, Air Force Special Operations Command, Border Patrol, BORTAC, and BORSTAR, the FBI Hostage Rescue Team, all word of mouth. We have a product for the military to expedite your recovery without drugs. Okay. Cancer patients. We've served thousands of cancer patients. In the battle of cancer, your stress response is so overwhelming, you don't sleep. You don't sleep, you die. So we come in and say, hey, we're going to resolve your stress and give you good sleep, and your body's going to know how to heal you from cancer. We do pilots. We've been working with the FedEx Pilots Union for years. Pilot safety, restorative sleep, and fatigue management. The union came to us because the Assistant Surgeon General of the United States Air Force said, you guys need NuCalm. And so they called us up and they did their trials and figured it out. So in 2016, I'm in a hospital with Dr. Holloway. We're witnessing another surgery. All of our product, you put the headphone on and we dial you down to 4 hertz. We hold you in the healing zone. That's the only product we have. And it's incredible. But I thought, Doc, if we can take everybody's brain to 4 hertz, can we dial them down to 0.5 hertz and put them to sleep? Can we dial them to 7.83 hertz and put them in a creative state? Can we dial them to 18.4 hertz and put them into a focus zone? And can we go all the way up to 41 hertz and put them in a peak state of performance? The answer was yes. Now with Blake, I never heard no. But Arthur, I never knew when, I never knew how. I just
yeah,
knew yes.
yeah.
It took us 6 years from 2016 to accomplish 2 monumental feats. And I don't use monumental lightly. We're already the only company in the world that figured out how to modulate brainwave frequencies and balance the nervous system. That's already a miracle. Well, we're going to do another miracle. We're going to go from 1 product to 6 to 8. We're going to take the mathematical matrix and alter the outcomes. And now you as a human can modulate your frequency from the deepest level of sleep to the highest level of intensity, all through physics. Secondarily, we take all of our science and we put it from a $6,000 medical device to a mobile app.
Yes.
So
Wow.
now, Arthur, we have an accessible, affordable, easy to use solution that happens to be the only patented, clinically proven neuroscience solution in the world. We are not an app company. Consumers will invariably compare us to an app company. We're not an app company. This isn't entertainment and bedtime stories. This isn't music. This is 36 years of patented neuroscience by design put to an app so we can take care of people. Because if it's not easy, one thing we've learned, if it's not easy, people will find a way not to take care of themselves.
That's true.
So we have an incredible, rich history. I wouldn't say any of it was by design. I met Blake in 2009. I was really intrigued by his curiosity, his passion, and what he invented, but I didn't know what it was. We figured it out. We worked in surgery for years. Surgery left open this opportunity for military. We started working in all these different varieties. Then we said, wait a second. If we can do this for the population, can we do all of these things? And now today, we're in a place where we can literally take care of humanity, solve your stress in the midbrain. We're not managing your stress. We're not putting a band-aid on your stress. Our technology goes right into your midbrain and interrupts the entire physiology and solves your stress. So we're at a place today where we can do amazing things for people. We need awareness and we need trial.
Hmm.
This, our job the last couple of years was, and I'm not going to understate how complicated all this was. Imagine trying to figure out, we're the only company that I'm aware of that went from a $6,000 class 3 neuroscience medical device to a mobile app. I don't think it's been done before. I
Yeah.
didn't know how to do it. But now we're a mobile app. We spent the last couple of years building out the entire model. And here's where we stand. Number one, we have 93% gross margin. I like that.
Yeah. Who doesn't like that?
There is no cost of goods. There's no supply chain issues. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
We own everything. If you want to compare us to a Calm or a Headspace or a meditation app, it's almost hilarious to do so, and it's also beneficial for us to do so. Why? Calm and Headspace are entertainment. The people who started Calm are sales guys, 2 sales guys, 13 years. All it is proffering bedtime stories and celebrity voiceovers and music and telling you that they can calm your stress. It's a bull-faced lie. There is no FTC oversight. You can't, through music, calm the nervous system of someone who's stressed out. It doesn't work that way. But here's what's good for us. They don't own anything. First of all, they pay 67 cents on every dollar. We pay nothing.
Hmm.
We own everything. We own our intellectual property. We own our science. We own our clinical proof. We own every note of 286 hours of patented neuroacoustic software on the app. A doctor a couple days ago said, "Mr. Poole, what's the difference between NuCalm and Calm?" I said, well, I can answer that in one word: science. We have it. They don't. You can't really reverse engineer 36 years of neuroscience.
And Jim, what I noticed, having used this a little bit, is there's lots of, if you real what you said is so true. You have to make it easy for people to take care of themselves because the default position's too easy not to, right? And so in the app, you can actually decide what you think you need and then test it out and see what happens, right?
Yes, yes.
Look, it's still early, but I've already noticed meaningful results. But I have a question for you about the surgery. If, and I'm not trying to be anything but curious, it's going to sound otherwise. So just so you know, if this stuff works so well with surgery, why hadn't I heard about it? Which is an easy question to answer. And two, are they still doing it?
The reason I'm lecturing tomorrow in Kiev, right? The reason I'm lecturing tomorrow in Kiev, Ukraine, is for the surgeries. For 7 hospitals for 4 years, been using it. There's a term in medicine for doctors. If you're not up on it, you're down on it. When you're pioneering, I've done over 550 medical lectures. They're called CME lectures. The longest one was 8 hours in China. I've lectured at the Pentagon, the Royal College of Physicians, Quantico, the keynotes at the 20th Annual Congress of Brain Mapping and Brain Therapeutics, neuroscientists, neurologists, cardiovascular surgeons. We're pioneers. We're too new for most. There are early adopters in every category. There are early
For
adopters in
sure.
medicine. People have used it, but we've never deployed a marketing budget. We've never deployed a sales team. Yet we've had success in all these verticals and the clinical proof. I know this about a surgeon: they don't take risks.
No.
So we had no way to fail. We had 4 minutes to prepare you and then get operated on. It wasn't like, hey, I wonder if it's going to work.
Hmm.
So that efficacy is incredible. But then take a look at Special Forces operator. For 13 years, we've been putting NuCalm on $6 million Special Forces operators. Do you think the United States Military Department of War is going to do that without vetting this? Or a professional athlete? We've worked with 79 professional athletes. Some of them I can share with you because it's public record. The Golden State Warriors, the Washington Capitals, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Kansas City Chiefs. These are all winners. There's not a single team or an athlete that's going to bring anything into their brain that they haven't vetted. But what I love about athletes and military and pilots is they're ritualistic. If something works for them, they adopt it. And we've
Totally.
had users for 14 years in all those verticals. So it's not a matter of does it work because the data supports, of course it does. It's a matter of we've never spent money on sales and marketing. All we've done is been able to sell almost $40 million of the only, neuroscience complicated product in the world by word of mouth
Mhm.
and by some influencers. We've got a great cadre of influencers. Tony Robbins and I have been friends for 12 years. He's featured in our app. I've been all over the world with him. He's featured in our book. We're featured in his books. Mark Victor Hansen, Brooke Burke, Mariel Hemingway, Jim Quick, Ben Greenfield, Luke Story, podcasts and podcasts. So there's a virality that's starting and a grassroots is starting. But when people say, hey, how come I never heard of you? My typical response is, well, unless you were a special forces operator, a FedEx pilot, a doctor, a cancer patient, or a professional athlete, why would you?
Plus, the consumer is super fickle, as you know, for a bunch of good reasons, but the cohort's so large. Can you actually, you said this, but I want to develop it a little further. If I'm going into uh, a place where I know I have to be at the top of my game, let's just say in the zone, can I dial in to that 40 hertz place and prepare myself for that?
You darn tootin' you can. In 2016, I took a call from a Premier League team, and they said, "Mr. Poole, we love NuCalm." This is when we only had the restoration one. Said our players are healing faster. We're not, you can see it on the teams who's got injuries and who doesn't. The jet lag issue, they're prepared. But can you make us something that'll get us excited to get on the pitch? Now, Arthur, I have an inherent confidence because I've got Blake in my corner. So my answer was yes. I had
Yeah,
no
right.
idea. I hung up with them. I called Blake. I said, Blake, this is the request. What do you think? Yeah. So it took us a year to figure it out. And we started flirting around with something we call Ignite. And it's on the app. It starts at 15 hertz, which is just kind of mellow. And then over 9 minutes, we amplify and increase your frequency so that the last 3 minutes of Ignite, we call pure warrior brain. In this state, Arthur, and when you listen to it, you feel it. Or it's one of those, the rescue and the deep sleep tracks, you don't really know because you're in a lucid dream state or you're sleeping. But Ignite, you're awake. You can literally feel us changing your physiology. You put a headphone on, and by the end of that 13 minutes, your olfactory's improved, your peripheral vision's improved, your gross motor cortex and your sensory motor rhythm are activated, and you're absolute certain in your mind. So I called Tony. I said, Tony, this is early 2017. I said, Tony, we just developed a physics track. We're deploying it with elite special forces operators and professional athletes. You want to check it out? Well, I know him. So he's like, yeah, send it my way. So I do. I sent it to him. The track's 13 minutes and 47 seconds long. I get a call 16 minutes later. Poole, what the hell is this? I said, it's Ignite, brother. He said, I've never heard anything like it. I said, of course you haven't. We have the only patented science in the world. He said, what do you want to do? I said, we can do anything. What do you want to do? He said, well, my neighbor's Ted Leonsis. Let me call the Capitals and see if we can train him. So we flew up to Toronto, Canada, spent 2.5 hours in a hotel room training the Washington Capitals. We took that training from Tony. He literally just gave me the audio. We trained him on NuCalm, and we trained him on their state. And then we built a 13-minute physics platform that amplifies your brain to 41 hertz, pure warrior brain. Built a soundtrack. You put it on. And at that point in 2017, I think this is the most powerful mind control ever created. We have the only patented physics in the world. We took an expert in NLP and we put it all together. The Washington Capitals went on to win the Stanley Cup. The next year, Tony says, Jim, that was a lot of fun. Peter Guber's one of my best friends. Would you mind doing it again? Let's go train the Golden State Warriors. So I flew up to Oakland. We spent 5 hours in a hotel room in Oakland, and we trained them. Same process. Took us about 6-7 months to do all the work. We released that to the Warriors. You put a headphone on. It's called Gratitude. You can literally hear the Warriors in the background yelling as Tony's asking them to yell. We started using this for elite military warfighters, the FBI hostage rescue team, and professional athletes. And from 2017 to November 2021, we had 998 of these people sign an NDA and had confidential access to amplify their brain. We weren't interested in bringing this to the consumer because consumers will trip over themselves for adrenaline, but they won't take care of their nervous system. They don't understand it. And they're like, that's stupid, but this is amazing. So we're like, listen, we're a neuroscience company here to help people, not to drive your dopamine even harder.
Right, right.
So for you, for me, and for anybody listening, you're heading to a meeting. You're heading to anything that you're like, listen, I want to be spot on. I want to be like a velociraptor. I want to be observant. I want my mind to be thinking really clearly. I want to be confident. I want to communicate well. I want to exude confidence. You put Ignite on with headphones or in earbuds en route to that meeting. It's game time, man. It's over. It is so freaking powerful. Who knew you could do this? You don't
Exactly.
need an energy drink. You don't need to fill your microbiome in your stomach with acid and sugar and cortisol. You don't need any of that. You just put a headphone on and we just dial your brain and you get to select on the mobile app today. There's 8 outcomes. You select how you want to feel. If you select deep sleep, we put you to sleep. If you select rescue, we put you in a recovery zone. If you select flow state, we put you in a creative state. If you select ignite, we amplify you and we prepare you for anything. So about a year and a half ago, the head of the FBI reached out to me and said, Mr. Poole, can you make a track or a product just for the hostage rescue team? Well, again, what's my answer? Yes, of
Yes.
course it is. So no one watching this will see this ever on their app unless they work for the hostage rescue team of the FBI. But on the bottom of my app, you see elite operator.
Yeah.
6 hostage rescue team elite operators have access to the most powerful Ignite tracks we've ever created. These things are like Ignite on steroids. When I was listening to them as we were making them, it made me like nauseous. They were so energetic, so powerful. So I'm down at Quantico and I'm talking to Brian Malashevsky, head of HRT. And I said, Brian, when are you guys listening to this? And he's like, Poole, in our comms, in the mobile truck, heading to extraction or termination. I said, what? He said, yeah, mission during the mission in our comms, we're
That's
listening to
yeah.
this. It's
Holy
great.
cow. Jesus.
It made me feel anxious. And then we allowed a U.S. Marshal access to it. And this is about 18 months ago. And I get a text. He said, these files are amazing. So I call him. I said, what, why, what? He said, we just kicked down the door of a bad man, a bad perp. There was like 20 of us. And I had elite operator in my comms and I've never been that good.
Wow.
So think about it this way, Arthur. Everybody's brain oscillates in the same frequency range. 8.4 billion brains on this earth. We all oscillate in the same range. And it's just math. We just happen to have figured out how to modulate the speed of your brain frequency.
So in the absence of this technology and the ability to do it, it totally makes sense to me why we wouldn't hadn't been able to figure it out. But in the absence, and now that we have, in the absence of this, what modulates it for us now?
Humans, for all of our complexity, and you're a bright guy, we're very pedestrian in how we manage ourselves.
I believe
Here's
it.
what we rely on. In the morning, we rely on caffeine.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, we rely on energy drinks. If we have a bad day and we're in psychic pain, we rely on wine or beer, whiskey, CBD, psilocybin. If we have anxiety, we rely on anti-anxiety pills. If we have depression, we rely on antidepressants. If we have trouble sleeping, we rely on benzodiazepines and sleeping pills. We rely on external stimulation to modulate the frequency of our brain without even knowing what we're doing or why we're doing. So you literally, if you want it, you could put on a side of your table all the things I just mentioned, and on the other side, a mobile app and a headphone,
Mhm.
because we've changed how humans will behave moving forward. So I think in a couple hundred years, Arthur, people will look back at this seminal moment and they'll know Blake Holloway changed how humans function because he figured out the source. The source of human life is brainwave frequency. Without it, you're dead. He went to the source. The source of all health, longevity, and resilience is your nervous system. He went to the source to modulate your frequency to theta 4 hertz in order to balance your nervous system. Everything is going back to the root of human function. And it's fascinating to me. We're literally using technology for you to plug into so you can unplug.
Yeah. You know what's really wild to me, Jim, is in the world that I operate in, day out, and I say it this way, people aren't in my orbit, I'm in theirs, okay? And to a person, they're looking for an edge. I mean, you just use hedge fund managers, right? What do I need to get some alpha? What do I need to get some alpha, right? And then uh the other part is that because we know whatever happens, what's the saying go? You only die once, you live every day, right? So
Mhm.
we know that there's such a thing as death. And so to the extent that we eat well, exercise, don't drink to all the stuff that we know can help longevity. This seems to me like it could do both those things, give you the edge and put yourself in the healing state that arguably without all the science, but it seems to make sense with the science, could help you have, a better quality of life going forward.
It's exactly what we're doing. So thank you for listening and thank you for figuring that out. That's exactly what we're doing. We have people can be like, wow, I've never heard of you guys before. I already mentioned why.
Yeah.
Okay. But we've
Yeah. That,
also,
by the way, that doesn't matter. It's only me saying this,
no, but
but
it's just in general
it
because it
doesn't
sounds so
matter.
good.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter
People
whether
are
they
like,
heard from you or
how
not.
come I haven't heard of you before? Well, this is why. Because you can only be good at something, right? We can't be good at everything. Our job for 32 years was discovery, invention, clinical proof, and figuring it out. For the last 4 years, we've shifted to make this easier and adoptive and be like, here, now let's bring this to the masses. You said the business side. There's a book. We've got a couple books published, and this one is NuCalm, Your Unfair Advantage. It's all
Yeah.
about
I love
using
it.
this in capitalism. How
Yeah.
do I create a better employee, employer, a better group, a better anything?
I'm going to
It's
put it right
by
in here.
modulating your brainwave frequency. So I can tell you this, our company's been around for 36 years. There's not a lot of commercialized private neuroscience companies. There's a lot of really brilliant neuroscientists, but they're not commercializing anything. We've been on a really unique journey with really good people, and people who know us know our integrity and our honor. We do the right thing when no one's looking.
Hmm.
Nobody knows we've been in Ukraine for 4 years. Nobody knows that once a week I'm with the defense minister and the minister of health, and everything's translated, and it's amazing work. Nobody knows that we've donated $5 million of NuCalm to 5 universities in Kenya. We have a technology that is so profound. It is gender neutral and culturally agnostic. It's math and physics, and everybody's brain oscillates in the same range. So, our goal today is mass adoption of a technology that can change your life. We in America are driven by marketing and pharmaceutical intervention. But I think people are starting to figure out, maybe that's not working. A couple days ago, I interviewed a veteran and he started crying on the interview. And that's not atypical. When you give someone the gift of their mind back in their sleep, they get emotional. They said, Jim, I'd go to the VA and within just a few years, they had me on 26 meds.
Yeah.
I don't know what was,
So sad.
I don't
Yeah.
know what was conflicting with what. Nothing was working. I was literally going insane. And I already started from a traumatized state. People are starting to figure out that maybe pharmaceutical intervention isn't the right path. But there's so much out there that nobody really knows, what am I supposed to do? There's, gizmos and gadgets and woo this and woo that. I don't care about any of that. What we did was say, listen, we have science behind us and we're the only product in the world of its kind. And you can't, it's not me, it's patents, it's clinical proof, it's military. We have sole source provider to the United States military. So for any of you who understand what that means, the government vetted our product and looked at it and said, this company has zero competition
Yeah.
globally.
You don't have to go out for bid,
Nothing.
right?
We have
Yeah.
nothing. So all of this is in our favor. We have a 7-day free trial. We simply need to create more awareness, and it's getting difficult. There's so much noise in the signal.
There is
There's
a
so
lot.
much marketing and AI and lies, and the FTC and the FDA can't regulate any of this stuff. I mean, the stuff that's out there is insane. Well, we just methodically just keep going, and we've built such a grassroots. The other two markers that are really important for us, number one, we have 59% annual retention of a mobile app. The industry average is
I
0.7%,
know it's insane, right?
3.7%.
Yeah,
Humans are desperate. They'll try anything once,
yeah.
but if it doesn't work, they don't re up. Well,
It's like
we,
the immediate gratification nation, right? Unless it's like
this,
instant or not trending, they're out. Correct.
yeah. So this is 59%. I knew that when you started using NuCalm, we got you for life. Because once you start feeling all the stress you were carrying and you were unaware of it, and you start sleeping really well, you're like, wait a second, this is like a resurrection of a new life for me. I can perform at a great level and I'm not compromising anywhere in my life. So, this technology is a game changer. It's a life changer for many, it's a life saver for many. And often, what we work on, Arthur, is serving the people with the loudest need and the quietest voice. And by virtue of everything we've done, we're just building upon it all the time. We launched a big launch with 2 new products, which are outcomes, and 119 hours of content on the app, January 20th. Our usage has grown 232%. It's amazing. So it's like if you're using it 6 times a day, you're now using it 11. So everything is working in the direction that we want. We surpassed 2.3 billion minutes on March 30th. That's equivalent to almost 4,700 years. It's pretty good.
It's impressive.
We're on to something, I think, Arthur.
So you're definitely onto something, and I'm here to tell you that it works. And I've got a lot yet to do. What about you just talked about the biggest need in this, not the loudest voices. It seems like this is the PTSD solution on steroids.
Yeah. Well, that's where we started. Last night at 9 o'clock, I presented to an entire group of Special Forces military veterans, and it breaks your heart.
Yeah.
They're tough guys. They didn't sign up for, they didn't know what they were signing up for.
No.
They,
No.
they want to serve. They're
Yeah.
broken.
Yeah.
There was a couple that you can see in their eyes. They're so broken. There's no, there's no trust and no truth. And I know this feeling. And I'm like, listen, guys, it doesn't matter what I say. We're giving this to you for free for 90 days. And all your brothers here that are on this call have been using this, including thousands and thousands of active military and thousands of veterans. But this, in the traumatized brain, a couple of things happen that are demonstrably bad for you and you don't even know. But number one, your central nervous system, which has one primary function, survival and self-preservation. Post-trauma, your central nervous system loses faith in you to protect you from the world. That's not good.
That's
Secondarily,
really
your
never thought about it that way.
your central nervous system loses faith in the universe as a safe place. So your central nervous system is constantly evaluating you and looking for familiarity and security, never finds an anchor, and it's activating the reptile part of your brain called the amygdala. You are in a constant state of vigilance nonstop. When you look at a PET scan of a traumatized brain, you see diminished blood flow to the hippocampus and the prefrontal cortex. Hippocampus is your memory center, and this is your thinking. So you're now stuck in a memory pattern of really vicious, nasty things your brain can't reconcile, and it's
Yeah.
activating your fight or flight. That is the traumatized brain. So we judge people for turning to drugs and alcohol just because we don't know how the brain works. When you're in psychic pain, your brain will figure out a way to manipulate you to get relief. And drugs and alcohol, which we used to call old calm, is very effective. Gets you out of psychic pain,
I
but
love
it's
it. Old calm.
temporary and it has negative consequences. That's literally where new calm came from. We have old calm, drugs and alcohol, and we have new calm. So we've been serving trauma, complex trauma and addiction for more than 30 years. Blake's whole practice in Texas was trauma. And it's amazing what we can do. All we're doing, Arthur, is liberating your monkey mind, slowing down the chaos in your mind, because at 4 hertz, when you use New Calm Rescue, your body is healing. And over time, we give you your sleep back. Over time, we allow your brain to restructure the memories. We don't erase the memories. We allow you to get an escape and a level of distance from the emotional impact of the memory. That is pure magic. Last night, and I told the gentleman who brought me in for this, I told him, I said, "Do you know how rewarding it is for me to look
Mm,
these gentlemen in the eye with such confidence and know you're in a safe place and you're going to heal now?
yeah.
All the stuff you've tried was literally, it was child's play. Their amygdala is so powerful. If you don't balance the nervous system, nothing's going to work." So
Mm,
that's incredible. We get to do that. We get to literally help throw a lifeline to somebody who doesn't know, but all they have to do is use it, and it's amazing.
yeah. So I have somebody I know well that had childhood trauma that was really bad. And as a result, because your sense of smell has one of the best memories,
Your
lost,
olfactory is a memory center.
yeah.
Yeah,
So lost her sense of smell. So she didn't have to relive those trauma. And then as she healed, got the sense of smell back.
that's
Like,
amazing.
how complex is that? Right.
Oh, listen, the physiology of the human brain is so far beyond our ability to conceive. We think we control ourselves. We don't control any of it.
Yeah.
This part of our brain, the amygdala, is 40 million years of neuronal circuitry,
Yeah.
40 million years of a perfect system of fight, flight, or freeze, stress, fear, anxiety, depression, or worry. That knows how to do its job.
Yeah.
This part of our brain, which separates us from primates, is 4 million years. So you're a businessman. How would you like to have a 36 million year head start?
Yeah. Exactly.
So we're battling things we don't understand. And
Yeah.
then we get self critical and judgmental of others because we're like, wow, what are they doing? Their brain is doing it.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything. They're not even available. When you're stressed and you're agitated and you're having a bad day, y yeah, you're not and you're not a and no one can talk you out of it. If you're stressed and your wife says, "You're grumpy today." "I'm not grumpy." Right?
That's
"Arthur,
right.
take a breath." It's not
So true.
insanity, it's the circuitry of your brain.
Yeah. It's short circuiting. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. Well, I'm really excited about having you guys with us today. And then also going forward, we're going to do the family office insights stuff. But you gave me some pretty good ideas today to how I can help, right? And it's commerce driven. So just to be clear, it's commerce driven and longevity driven. Everybody I know, and that's an exaggeration, but you'll get my point, wants an edge. Like
Yes.
they want an edge. And these are people who are not just because they're rich, they're smart, they're lifelong learners, they're curious. I'm very fortunate. I'm surrounded by people that are like stars, right? In many ways, but they're not complacent. They actually will do things. You mentioned and neuro linguistic and NLP.
Yep, neurolinguistic programming.
I mean, Tony Robbins has been doing that since the beginning of time. When he first started it, that was his thing, right?
Th They've been proffering that wisdom since Marcus Aurelius. Since the
Right.
dawn of humankind, they've been doing it. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Humans can't understand intangible. So people are like, "I don't know if it's true or not." Some people do it, some people don't. NLP is incredible. It's scientific, it's proven. You see what it does and how it does it. Yeah, no, it's amazing out there. I love working with people who are intellectually curious and desirous of doing better, being better, feeling better, serving. We have great success with anybody because the product just one of the coolest things about this product, Arthur, is it just works.
Yeah. It just works.
It just works. It just does it. I did rescue. I've was on a podcast just before this. I did rescue for 40 minutes this afternoon. I've been using it every day for 17 years. I
Mm.
know the math. I know the science. I know the physics. My brain falls for it every time because of the complexity of the algorithms that we created. Blake was a genius. He knew if I don't trick the reticular activating system of the human brain, your brain will figure out the patterns. The Monroe Institute, HoloSync, the Silva system, the David system, these have been around for 30 to 40 years. They're not science companies. The Monroe Institute was founded by Bob Monroe. He was an ad executive. What does
Mm.
he know about the human brain? HoloSync was founded by two guys who thought meditation was cool. The Silva system was founded by a radio engineer. Blake was a neuroscientist.
Mm.
He's like, I'm not interested in audio file and
Right.
sound. I'm interested and modulating your brainwave frequency. And the trick, how we have the only patent in the world, what he figured out, Arthur, was he had a nonlinear oscillating algorithm. And your reticular activating system is part of your brain that figures out all patterns. And it's amazing. But a nonlinear oscillating algorithm never stops moving. You'll never figure out the pattern. So, any of you listeners, if you've listened to the Monroe Institute, Silva System, David System, HoloSync, you'll know. First time you listened to it was amazing. Second time you listened to it was really good. Third time you listened to it, fourth time, nothing. Because a simple frequency delivered to the brain is easily figured out.
It's kind of like a virus where your
Yes,
body figures it out, right?
exactly. Your body, because of the reticular activating system, normalizes everything because your central nervous system has one defined goal: self-preservation and
Survive.
survival.
Yeah.
It's evaluating everything all the time. That's why, unfortunately for humans, there's no such thing as a second first impression, because when you do anything new, you're activating your survival instinct and your reticular activating system is figuring everything out. Blake knew this. This is why it took him 19 years to figure it out. He's like, this isn't about entertainment or a nice to have. I gotta trick this reticular activating system. So it will never let you down. NuCalm will never not do its job.
You've mentioned several times during this conversation and others that we've had that you regularly use rescue. Explain to us why you do that.
Rescue is designed to downregulate your frequency, slow you down into 4 hertz. And remember, 4 hertz is deep theta, and theta is the healing zone. In theta, your vagus nerve is fully activated. In theta, your parasympathetic nervous system is fully activated. In theta, your sympathetic or stress response is almost zero. In theta, your cells clean their toxins and do their cellular maintenance. In theta, your mitochondria is restored. So imagine what happens on a daily basis if you can, just with a headphone and eye mask and press start, be in theta in 4 minutes and stay there. Today, I stayed there for 34 minutes. Took me 4 minutes to get down. I was there for 34 minutes. And then the last 2 minutes, we take you up. I feel amazing. I lectured last night until 11:40, and then I was on a call this morning with folks in India at 7. And I was like, wow. But tonight, I've got a presentation with Dr. Tom Hansen at 7 o'clock. So before my prior podcast, I've been on 3 hours of podcasts in a row. I went upstairs. I took my suit off. I got in bed. I was like, take me away. It was
Nice.
amazing. I feel amazing right now. So
Wow.
I'm going to use that every day. And here's why. I'm 57 years old. I'm a workaholic. Okay. All right. How do I know? Well, I live in Tampa and I'm deficient in vitamin D based on my last blood work.
Yeah, when you don't get outside, right?
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I love the mission I'm on and the purpose driven piece we're doing. I love serving, and there's a lot of people to serve. I don't want to die liberating humanity from stress. This isn't a martyr mission. So,
Mm,
my goal is to stay alive. My goal is to have incredible mental endurance so I can just keep doing what we do. This energy level you see from me is my energy all the time, but it's not human. So, I use rescue as a battery charger. Every day, I know my cells deserve it because I'm pushing, man. Now,
yeah.
I also use focus all day long. If I'm not on a call, I've got headphones on and I'm on focus on my computer and I'm mentally tuned in.
So
So I'm
you're on
highly,
the focus part of NuCalm while you're working.
yes, and it is magic. 18.4 hertz is a frequency associated with learning, encoding information, concentration, comprehension. You want an unfair advantage, you put headphones on and focus, it's over, man. Your mental acuity is laser focused. So I use that all day long. I use Ignite pre-workout and workout. I love, I wrestled and did martial arts. And so I like to fight and get physical. I'm not a big fan of the Peloton and cardio, but I got to do it.
Yeah.
So what will happen for me, Arthur, is if say I'm going to do the Peloton at 4 o'clock, around 3:40, this little itty bitty shitty committee behind my eyes starts coming up with excuses why I shouldn't work out at 4. So I learned. I put Ignite on, and before I know it, I'm not having a discussion with myself. I'm in those stupid bike shorts, walk around my house, ready to get on the Peloton. And then
Warrior.
when
Yeah.
I get on the Peloton, I'm a warrior. My wife is convinced I'm going to die on the Peloton. She's like, "You're going to have a heart attack." I said, "Maybe." I said, but once I get Ignite on, I just go as hard as I
It's
can.
super helpful. We've talked a little bit about this, but despite my desire to do otherwise, I'm at the gym 5 days a week, and I dislike it immensely. But I have the benefit of if I had to think about what the workout was gonna be and get myself to the gym, no way. But I'm going with Mary, and Mary's a athletic trainer by profession. I'm just following her, right? So, like, I have a huge advantage in that regard. But if I could do Ignite and it actually pumps me up to go, because we go in the morning always, because if we wait till 4, it's not gonna happen. Yeah, so I'm gonna do Ignite. That's a good
Ignite's incredible. So
yeah,
let me just show the listeners what we're talking about.
yeah.
There's one mobile app. It's color coded.
Bring it a little
Top
closer if you can.
the top
There you go, perfect.
colors. This is all that balancing your nervous system and healing you. Rescue is the key. That's the therapy that takes you to 4 hertz. Deepest Sleep and Deepest Sleep Plus are the only products that require a speaker, no headphone. In your bed at night, you listen to that. Then Power Nap. So this is the recovery side. Then when you scroll down, you see these are the action. Ignite is what we're talking about. In earbuds, 13 or 14 minutes. We've got Tony Robbins training the Washington Capitals in one of those. Priming, we have Mark Victor Hansen, Roger Love. We've got Jim Quick, Tony Robbins. We've got world-class collaborators on our app,
Yeah,
and physics takes you to 40 hertz. And focus is what I use all day long, Arthur.
yeah.
Keeps me honed in. And then flow state is for creative artists. So you select what you want. For rescue and power nap, these are immersive. You need a headphone and an eye mask. It's non-negotiable. We can't take you to 4 hertz with your eyes
Or
open.
both.
Both. We can't take you to 4 hertz with great precision with your eyes open and your ears open. But if you take your eyes away and your ears away, bye-bye.
Yeah.
4 minutes, we know where you are. You're at 4 hertz.
Does the app tell you what hertz you're at?
No, it may. I mean, there's so much literature. We've been training people for so long. What we do have is it tells you need the icons there. So for rescue, it has the
I got it, yeah.
mask and headphone. But we have a frequency guide. I think I probably sent it to you, and it tells you exactly here's the frequency, here's what happens in that frequency, and then here's what the product is and what you need. So rescue and power nap, you need a headphone or an eye mask. Focus, priming, ignite, and flow state, you don't. You just put headphone on and you just go where you go. Listen, it'd be amazing to incorporate a tool that was in my hand, a mobile app, and all day long, I just chose how I wanted to feel. Well, that's what I do. That's what I do. It's on me like 21 hours a day. NuCalm can do no harm. 17 years, 106 countries, 2,700,000 surgeries, millions of people, no reported adverse events. Because all we're doing is mimicking the body's natural processes, and we're just dialing you up or dialing you down with no drugs.
Yeah. So, uh, I'm gonna ask you to do something because I think it really sums everything up. Can you do the check for us?
Yeah, I can.
And then we
Wh-
have to wrap it up.
When you think about NuCalm, I know your brains are going crazy right now. First of all, you've never heard of something like this. Secondly, you're like, wow, this is amazing. How can it be? Well, it is right here. It's right here. And you think about risk, investments about mitigating risk. Okay. Well, let's look through what this company has done. Number one, we invented the only technology in the world clinically proven to lower stress, improve sleep, and balance the nervous system. Check. We clinically proved through a medical advisory board of 52 of the world's leading doctors that this worked and did exactly what we said it was going to do. Check. We awarded the only patent in the world in July of 2015 for balancing the nervous system of a human being. Check. We've done 2,700,000 surgical procedures replacing general anesthesia. Check. We went from one product to two products to six products to 8. Check. We went from a $6,000 FDA Class 3 medical device to a mobile app. Check. We lowered the price from $6,000 to $50 a month. Check. We lowered the price again from $50 a month to $15 a month. So from $6,000 to 50 cents a day. Check. We awarded the second patent, which is the only patent in the world for eliciting a state change in a human brain. Check. We now have one mobile app, 8 outcomes. We have 106 countries using this technology. We have 59% annual retention rate. Check. We have 93% gross margin. Check. And we have a 68% conversion from the free trial to a paid subscriber. Check. And we don't need for you to come to a conference to try it. We don't need to go to your home. We have a 7-day free trial. Check. We are here with the only product of its kind to solve stress and sleep for humanity without drugs. Check. Mate.
Yes, indeed. I love it. You don't have to say anything else. Nicely done, Jim. Thanks for doing this. I'm super pumped. Really. Like I said, I'm using it and I'm looking forward to using it as you've described. Uh, we'll get this out to everybody so they can listen and dial in. And then, of course, we'll have you on the program with Family Office Insights too. So,
Awesome.
really,
Arthur, pleasure. Thank you so much for being a part of this, orchestrating this, making this a part of your quest. We're going to have fun together because we're going to do well together. We're going to create good health and create good wealth for people. So, what's not to like about it? So, thank
exactly.
you.
I'm
Really
looking forward
appreciate
to it.
that.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. Till next time.